Hello, my name is David Baleno. I'm a mental performance consultant. I'm also the owner of Sportivo Baleno. And today I want to talk about what athletes, performers, and coaches can do in their own time to help develop their competitive mindset. Here we go. I think the best place to start is by raising self-awareness. And that means asking yourself questions that can give you a good foundation. Who am I? Who do I want to be? What's holding me back from being who I want to be? What resources are out there that I can go to, whether they're books or people or otherwise? And sometimes these questions might seem simple or mundane, but the more you sit on them and the more you ponder them, the more you'll be able to strengthen your self-awareness. And self-awareness is really the foundational piece for having a strong mental performance background. So I have some colleagues that talk about performance, and they use a pyramid to describe the different levels. And the bottom level, or the foundational level, is self-awareness. No matter your age or your level of play, it's always important to revisit and strengthen that foundational level. And I think that starts with a really easy question. What's my why? Why do I play? Why do I participate in my sport or my activity? What drives me to continue playing? And we can start this conversation by asking, what are 4 reasons why you participate in your sport or your activity? And list them out. Now, after you've come up with your 4 reasons why you play or participate in your sport or your activity, it's time to ask a second why. And that second why derives directly from your answers from the first. So the first response might have been, well, I play my sport because I want to stay fit. Now take I want to stay fit and transfer it to the second why, which is, why do you want to stay fit? Or perhaps you answered, I play my sport because I want to be around my friends. Why do you want to be around your friends? And some of these questions might take some time to ponder. It might not come right away. And if you sit with it a little bit longer, perhaps even overnight, that will only strengthen your self-awareness even more. So the next most important part to raise your self-awareness is to set some goals. And we all have different goals, and we've probably all heard the phrase before, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So here's a quick primer on setting goals. We have process goals, we have outcome goals, we have short-term goals, and we have long-term goals. Our process goals help us get to our outcome goals. Our short-term goals help us get to our long-term goals. And this also brings up another saying that you hear a lot in mental performance, which is control the controllables, right? So when we say that, what we mean is if your outcome goal is to win a championship and you have different process goals to get to that outcome goal, you don't always have full control over winning a championship. There's referees, there's opponents, there's injuries, there's teammates, and a lot of different variables that may hold you back from getting to your outcome goal. But your process goals, you do have control over. Say you want to get better technically or tactically, or you want to get stronger or faster. Those things are in your control. So you have process goals and outcome goals. And it is important to have both. And it goes to say the same goes for long-term and short-term goals. We want to have long-term goals, but we also want to identify what short-term goals are going to get us to the long-term goals. So our next activity is quite simple as well, right? And it's more self-awareness, building that foundational level of that pyramid that we talked about. And what we're going to do is write down 2 long-term goals. And after you come up with your 2 long-term goals, you need to come up with 3 short-term goals for each of your long-term goals. Now keep in mind your long-term goal might be a little bit more outcome-based, whereas your short-term goal should be more process-based. So remember, control the controllables. You should have control over the process, but you might not have total control over the outcome. And this might mean for a coach that will say, well, I want to win the championship. That's my long-term and that's my outcome goal. Well, there's other things that will affect that outcome. Like I said earlier, your opposition, injuries, other things that might come up throughout the season. Your short-term goals should be a little more process-based. So perhaps your three short-term goals might be, well, I want to improve my team technically. I want to improve my team tactically. I want to have better team cohesion. And you have control over those things, but they'll definitely help you get to your long-term or your outcome goal. Now, our last activity to build that self-awareness piece, that foundational part of the pyramid, is self-assessment. Right? You can think about this as your own little performance report card. And I think a lot of people have seen a performance profile used at some point. Right? It's used a lot in the professional level, especially during draft times when teams are comparing different players' assets. But today we're just going to use it on a personal level to assess ourselves. Right? And getting back to that self-awareness piece, how can we create more self-awareness? Well, let's do some self-assessment. This is what a performance profile looks like. Just looks like a wheel. Now, like I said, a performance profile looks like a circle or a wheel or maybe even a target. And around the outside of that goes different categories that are going to be sport specific. So one that might be specific to soccer would be passing, dribbling, shooting, defense, decision making, etc. And then in each of those categories, you'll rank yourself depending on how you feel you are in each of those categories. And what I'll do is I'll put a blank performance profile and a completed performance profile so you can get an idea of what they look like. Now, one of the strengths of using the self-assessment, using the performance profile, is that we can tie in that goal setting piece and help our motivation and our confidence. So let's say I'm a soccer player and I ranked myself as a 3 in dribbling. Now what I can do is set a long-term goal. Let's say 8 weeks from now, I want to go from a 3 to a 4 in dribbling. What are my short-term goals that are going to get me there? So I'm going to do some ball work and some other things, short-term goals, to get to my long-term goals. Right? So those goals will help me stay motivated to keep on working towards something. But at the same time, in 8 weeks, if I can track my progress, I'm going to be a more confident dribbler because I know that I've gone from a 3 to a 4. So perhaps for a coach, right, the performance profile can be used a little differently, a little bit more specifically, a little bit more scientifically. Say a soccer coach wants to improve pass completion, and we'll set up an activity and determine how many successful attempts a player has out of 10. Right? And so let's say they rank as a 5. Now what we can do is set a long-term goal, going back to our goal setting piece, that they can get from a 5 to a 6 within the next 2 months. And then they can set up some short-term goals that are going to help that pass completion rate. Now, once again, we have something that's going to motivate the player, but we also have something that after they can see their progress is going to help boost their confidence. And the same could be said for strength and conditioning coach, right? Let's say a strength and conditioning coach has someone that has a vertical of 20 inches. And now, depending on their age or their sport, that might be, let's say it's a level 4, a level 5 ranking. Let's say they want to improve that by 4 inches over the next 2 months. Okay, well, here's the short-term goals that are going to get you. Here's the program that we're going to set up to get to there. So now we have that small piece that's going to help motivate the athlete to get better. And then after you retest them in 2 months, when they see that they've gone up from 20 inches to 24 inches, now we can give something that's going to boost their confidence. So it can be used by both players and coaches in different types of assessment, whether it's self-assessment or whether it's a little bit more scientific, and on the coaching end, something that can be used. So quick review. We went over 3 different ways to raise self-awareness, both for players and for coaches. The first one, know your why. Why do you do what you do? What drives you to participate in your sport or your activity? The second one, set goals. Set long-term goals, set short-term goals, set outcome goals, set process goals. This will help you stay motivated to get better and improve. And lastly, do assessments. Assessments help both in the motivation piece and the confidence piece. And if we have a good foundational level of self-awareness, everything will build from there. Well, I hope that gets the ball rolling for both players and coaches in their performance development. Stay tuned for more videos as we add new levels to that mental performance pyramid. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.